What up, guys? It is Dr. Mo coming at you again today. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to all my new subbies. Thank you for sticking around to my OG subbies. I always appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment. Let me know what you want me to do, all that jazz. My email is ptapta2todpt@gmail.com. So if you have any inquiries, any questions, anything, feel free to reach me via that email. And I will put that in the description box. So today I'm coming at y'all with a story time. This story time is super juicy. I held back from this story time last year because, or the year before, because I was still kind of processing what the heck was happening. But anyways, so if you've been following my journey, you know I just finished PT school like in 2018. Can't believe it's coming up on 2 years. Can you believe it? Like it seems as though I just started my channel like yesterday, and here I am almost 2 years in as a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy. Ain't that amazing? But anyways, I digress. So this was the last year of my educational program as a PT, and I was in my clinical rotations, and so I used to work for this big healthcare system, and the healthcare system, I was a floater. I floated between inpatient rehabilitation, acute care, outpatient and outpatient specialty clinic working with amputees. And my specific rotation was with the amputee clinic. And so I had told my school, because in the state that I'm in, which is Maryland, you're not allowed to generally work in the facility in which you are doing your clinical rotations. But aside from that, it is, of course, every state gives preferential treatment and entrance to clinicals to their residents, and then everyone else comes as gaps are available. But thankfully, I was able to talk to my job and talk to a colleague who took me under his wings to be my clinical instructor. And so that was an amazing experience. And so what I did was, and I told my clinical coordinator at school, what I did was I mentioned to her that, hey, it's a huge facility and I work there, but I'm going to be doing my rotation at this amputee clinic. And there was a transitional period where the one clinical coordinator was transitioning out and the other one was coming in. And she was like, okay, well, as long as you're not working, at your clinic, your specific clinical site, that's fine. So, if you are like me, you didn't come from a family where everything is provided. In fact, since the age of 16, fun fact, I've been taking care of myself. With my husband's help. We were dating then, of course. But with my husband's help, and both of us didn't have no money. We were both, we started from the ground, now we're here. Okay? But so the agreement was that. And so what my plan was okay, I will do full-time at my clinical site and then do full-time at my other site, which is still within the same organization. And my job, okay, my supervisor and his superior knew that was what was happening. So I did my clinics Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I did my clinics 12 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I worked the other 10-hour days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to maintain full-time, because if you're a PT student, unless your school's different, you're required to, number one, have insurance while you're doing your clinics. And to my understanding, you need money. I'll get to that later, but you need money to pay for gas, right? To drive to and fro if you have to drive, to buy uniforms if you have to buy uniforms. So I don't know how they expect you to complete stuff without having any money or having a plan in action. But anyways, I digress again. So yes, indeed, the contract in school says you're not supposed to work before, so I can't really fault them, but my situation is different. I had made it through the entire program with a 3.83, and here I am faced with this dilemma. So long story short, I told my clinical instructor, like, listen, this is the case, but if they call, just give them the what they need to know, that I'm covering my full-time hours here and blah, blah, blah. And the agreement was, okay, that's cool. So long story short, my clinical coordinator, the one that took over the other one, calls on this one awesome day in February of 2018. And I was busy doing a brand new eval that had come in, an amputee. And I overheard my clinical instructor, who he had another employee who was visiting, kind of getting to know the department. And so I hear him pick up the call, and it's my clinical instructor, and he says, and I guess the question from my assumption was, oh, so Monique is there, yes, so how many days a week is she there? He said 3. And I immediately, my stomach dropped. Like, I was like, man, this dude is going to kill me. Then she proceeded, so how many hours a week is she doing? So he said 36 full time, but she's here 3 days a week doing, 12 hours. So she said, well, are you there the other days? And he said, yeah. And so she said, well, you have to call me when she's around because we have to speak. My stomach was in knots. Like, I couldn't even complete that eval in peace. Like, my whole mindset was, oh my God, I'm done. Like, this program is over with. I'm going to fail. They're going to kick me out of this program. It's over. It's over. But, so, my stomach is in knots. My clinical instructor calls me over. He's like, oh man, I was so busy. I didn't really, catch, what was going on. And I just kind of spoke at the whim of the moment. And I was like, it's all good. I mean, you did your part. And I mean, that is what I'm doing. So we'll just have to figure it out. So, the instruction was for me to call. So I was like, I'm not calling right now. I'm going to have to gather my thoughts and figure out what I'm going to tell this lady. And then I'm going to call her when I get home. So and then something had happened where I had to pick up my daughter from school. So you see all these additional things coming up, So I left earlier, maybe 30 minutes earlier. So she called again, apparently, and he had said I went home. So that makes me look like, number one, I'm lying because, I was supposed to be there for 12 hours and I had about 2 more hours left before my supposed 12-hour shift was done with, or I'm taking advantage of the system. So he called me on my way there that, oh my gosh, she called again, but I don't want to say anything yet until you either speak with her or we speak with her tomorrow when you come in. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go pick up my daughter, take her to an appointment, and I get home and I call my clinical coordinator. And she was going at me. She was like, so what is going on? So I explained to her what was going on, and I said, listen, you guys want me to have insurance. I have a whole family that my husband, my daughter, they were all under my insurance because it's a hospital-based insurance and it's better than any other facility that I've ever worked for. And so in order for me to maintain that and be able to afford going to and from my clinical rotation, I have to work. I have to I have to do stuff. And so she's like, yeah, but the terms. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys knew this. I mean, the program itself is for working adults. They advertise as adult learning. So that most of us, most people coming in did not have a family. Some of them were, either recent graduates from their bachelor's and first-time career people. There were a few second-time career PTAs and ATCs. But, I think in the whole entire class, I was the only one who had a child at the moment. Well, except for one other student. But he had his child a little later. And so, anyways, I explained the situation to her, and I was like, listen, I'm not even working at the same facility. And when I work, it's Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So she's like, well, the policy is that you're not supposed to work. And I said, yeah, but then you guys didn't really, she was right, but they did not outline and put specifics, because it didn't say you can't really work. It just said that, they want you to complete the full-time hours, like your CI. So I couldn't fight there. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. So she's like, well, I don't know if you'll graduate with your class. I was like, hold up, honey. This is going too far. This is this is a lot. Like, I'm a 3.83 student, and you're telling me that you're going to have me delay graduation because of this situation. So she says, well, I need you to not go or report to your clinics tomorrow, which was supposed to be a Friday. You're probably going to have to meet with the faculty on Monday. So that meant I would have to drive to Pennsylvania on Monday, and then you have to quit your job if you want to continue and still be able to graduate in the summer or fall or whatever it was. So she's like, I'm going to contact the director of the program and we'll discuss what the next step will be. But for now, don't report to your clinic. Child, I was stressed. So I hung up and, I called my husband right away because he wasn't home yet. And I spoke with him and he was so supportive and was like, I know your intentions are not wrong. Let's just pray about it and hope for the best. So I'm sitting there and I call my clinical instructor. I was like, oh, she said I can't report tomorrow or until further notice. So he's like, oh my gosh, is she taking it that serious? So he's like, okay, you know what, I'll call her. So he called her and he spoke to her about the situation. And long story short, she ended up calling me like 2 hours later and was like, okay, she spoke with my clinical instructor and, he seemed to have like a lot of empathy in that I've been amazing and I'm a good student and I haven't had any issues, and he's pleading that the school reconsiders my situation and have me start back up tomorrow, the next day, and move forward. So she's like, so she spoke with the director of the program and they determined that I would have to quit my job. Hey, that's an African laugh if you don't know, honey. So I was like, what? Quit my job? This is going too far. So I was like, you know what, Monique, who needs this more, you or them? I need it more because I've invested my sweat, blood, and tears and my finances, and I'm going to be with these loans for a while. So, well, God forbid, I'm going to pay them off soon, but that was my mindset at the time. So I was like, you know what, I better get my act together and just do what I got to do. So I go writing an email. I wrote an email that night with a resignation letter. I had to, send it to my boss, send it to her, and everything. Like, I had to send it to everybody, a whole chain of command. So I wrote this letter outlining to my job that, this is what has happened. This is what the rules of the institution are, even though, to be honest, they weren't really clear. But I was the one who needed it more. So I had to shut myself up and get it done if I wanted to get through it. So I sent the letter and everything, and my immediate boss was like, oh man, I'm so sorry about that this, you had to end so abruptly, but it's okay. This too shall pass. Just finish up your clinical rotations. That's more important. And then when you're done, we'll just pick back up from where you left off once you graduate. But, we're supporting you. Then his superior, me and her had a little run-in, which will be another story time some other time. But we had worked it out a little bit. But I knew she was coming for me, but whatever. But she was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm wishing you the best. Yeah, just, complete, the rest of your program. And when you're done, we'll just pick up where we left off. So I was like, oh my gosh. Then the guy, her top supervisor, reached out to me and was so nice. He's always been amazing. Like, anytime I needed something, I went straight to him. But he was like also supportive. And so I was like, oh wow, that's good. At least they didn't get mad and now my relationship is going to be ruined. Side eye. So anyways, I sent the letter, and then my clinical coordinator at school was like, okay, great. So that's fulfilled. So now we have an agreement. Every week that you go in, every day, I want you to check in. So I felt like a jailbird. I'm checking in when I come in. I'm checking in when I leave. I had to get my timesheet signed by my clinical instructor and sent in to her to sign, and then it was put in the archive somewhere. So I did that for some time. I did that for about for the whole duration of the program. Then she comes with another curveball. She said, well, she spoke with the staff again, the rest of the staff at school, and they said that everything is fine, but I have to make up from January 2nd up until that time that she called me. I have to make up the rest of those Thursdays and Fridays, and in order to fulfill those hours, which was a good amount. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go into gear. I'm gonna go through clinical 7 days a week. So the same facility I was in, I was doing inpatient rehab 2 days a week to make up those 2 days, Thursdays and Fridays, that I missed from the time that I started up until the point. So there I was, getting it done. I was, going in, 10 hours a day. Essentially, I was working 70 hours a week, because I was there 8 to 10 hours a day. I had to follow my clinical instructor's schedule, whether they work from 8 to 5 or 1 to 3. And, and I took it like a champ, because I was like, I need this again more than they do. So I did it. And then midway through, this woman says, well, you got to report to campus, and because you have to apologize to the staff of the university. Now, let me tell you something. I hope this woman looks and finds my page one day and sees that, what she did, she went above and beyond what needed to be done. And it was very, very unnecessary, because you had me quit my job. Yeah. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't hurt nobody, but you had me quit my job. Then you gave me all these things and ultimatums. Then you had me come into the school to apologize to the professors, all my professors, everybody that had taught me for 3 years saw me, and I had to face them, including a new staff that I had never met, who was going to help her in the coordinating of clinicals. So I presented myself. Maybe this was maybe 6 weeks after that point, from when I quit and made up the time. So I presented myself to the staff, and I'm a very emotional person. My husband always says, be careful that people don't misconstrue it for weakness. And it's been a trait of mine that I have gotten better at, but I tend to get very emotional when I'm either upset or super happy, or just something, sometimes some things just hit you. So at the time I called my pastor, I prayed, I fasted, and I went in. My sister-in-law came with me, and so when I went, I thought, oh my God, now this is going to be like a jailbird showing up to talk to her parole officers and see if they can release her from their trap or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how the jail system works, but whatever. But so I get in there. I thought it was going to be like a board situation where they're asking me 10 million questions a piece, but nope. I walk in there, and my clinical coordinator comes in and gets me from the lobby. I see some of my professors coming in. They're greeting me. And so I go, and it's a round table, a whole round table, bro. A round table. I'm sitting there oh my gosh, really? This woman has gone too far. But before that, now backtrack. She had me write an apology letter to the institution, to the professors and director of the program. And I did. And in addition, I had to show up to apologize to them in person. She was being spiteful. But whatever, whatever. It is what it is. So I present to the this round table, and I'm sitting, and my professors are all in disbelief, because again, I have a 3.83. I was always attentive, always on time. Probably 2 times in my whole entire academic career, or 3 times was I late, but usually we were there on time or early. So long story short, I presented, and so she starts recounting what had happened, and said, oh, I spoke to Monique, and she seemed very remorseful. And I was like, I was upset at the fact that I thought I was doing the right thing, but the rules weren't really clear. And yes, I did know that I was in the wrong sum, but I wasn't remorseful. I have to feed my family. I have to get gas in my car. I have to drive to clinicals and back. I have to pay my rent to be able to have somewhere to live. So I was just like, you know what? Again, who needs this? Me. So shut up and keep it moving. So she goes on and on. She's like, yeah, I spoke to Monique, and she seems remorseful again, where my emotions come in, because when I spoke with her, I was kind of upset and crying, but again, it comes off as a weakness. And, things have changed. Her clinical instructor says she's doing well. Well, duh, I do well. And I'm not saying that to be cocky, but I know my ability, and I know that I was going to do well before I even got there. But again, who needs it? Me. So I shut up, right? So anyways, she goes on, and then she opens the floor. She's like, well, Monique, this is your chance to speak. So I started again, Madam Emotional. So I start crying and getting all emotional. And I was like, well, the situation was that my understanding from when I read the rules was, yes, I know generally we're not supposed to work. We're not supposed to work, true. But I thought after I had met my full-time hours, I could pretty much, as long as I fulfilled that and I did what I needed to do, I could work. But I know it's the same facility, and maybe that's where it's wrong, but it wasn't clear with different departments. So I said, but all the same, I apologize if I caused the institution, to look a certain way, or to be presented as if you guys are not organized and whatnot. And again, emotional, nose all running, eyes all watery, and then I was like, damn, why am I crying? Like, this doesn't even make sense. So my professors, all of them, and she made it seem like these people were all like upset and disgruntled with what I did. We're like, oh, Monique, it's okay. Don't sweat. We know you're a great student. You never gave us a chance to think you were, not together, or like, or not, smart. You were always on time. You always did what you needed to do. And, after the fact, they came and gave me a hug. Mind you, this whole meeting took place in 5 minutes, okay? I thought, then she opened the floor. After I finished, she said, does anyone have any questions or any comments or any concerns that you want to bring up? Crickets. Nobody had anything to say. So, to when I was leaving, all my professors came and, pat me on the back, hugged me. This one, she had kids. She was like, I understand where you're coming from. Just go and finish up your clinicals and graduate on time. And, I went on, and that drive was like a 3-hour drive only for a 5-minute meeting where I had already written an apology letter to the staff. But I drove back to my clinics, and, I was in there. I finished up, and God saw me through. We were able to save enough money where we were able to help use that I had to take some money from my 401k to help support my family, and it is what it is. And it was a tough time for me. And, and I remember graduation. So I graduated on time, long story short. And during graduation, we had superlatives. I think I've talked about this a little bit in another video. And these mother suckers, okay, some of my classmates, it was 2 of them that did the superlatives, put me in the category of the most likely to be late for class and most likely to like eat lunch late or some shit like that. I was pissed. I'm not even gonna lie. And I wasn't trying to, show my emotions, but I was like, really? Like, is this what I know. And the one came up to me and was like, oh, it was all in good faith. Please, girl, bye. It was not in no good faith. Number 1, I'm the only black girl in the class. Number 2, you're putting me, I already went through this crap, where I was literally made to feel as though I'm this insufficient, useless student who like has, who is like a criminal. And then y'all are giving me this shit. Like, I don't even cuss. If people that know me know I don't cuss, and excuse me if it came out crazy, but I was just like pissed. Like, really? Like, for real? So I took the paper after. Me and my classmates, like 4 of us, we were the foreigners in the class. Well, not foreigners, but the non, we were the brown people in the class. So I took the paper of the superlatives, the award, and I bunched it up and I threw that crap in the trash. And I was like, bye. So we bounced out of there and we went. And then during graduation, after the walk, there goes my clinical coordinator. She's there. I knew you would do it. I knew you could do it. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Get out of here. I don't need you to be proud of me. I was going to do it. I have a 3.83, ma'am. And I have a 3.83 only because I was working full time while schooling. So what's up? And you put me through all that. But I was like, you know what? it's my happy day. I'm not going to go get Kirk. So I, gave her that little fake hug and was like, never to see you again. I don't ever want to see you again. And I pray that, that no other student ever goes through what I went through. It was a very rough time, and I made it through. And I'm so grateful that I made it through, because I could share that story now and be free from it. I just, anyone that is going through any program, it doesn't have to be physical therapy related, any program that has a similar situation like mine, just know that you need it more, and just push through if you can. The one thing that I guess that they should emphasize is to have people, review. They did have a review class, but it wasn't really clear. But it's to review this and make sure that, things are specific so that people don't get confused and get into trouble. But yeah, y'all, I almost didn't graduate on time. Can you believe it? Or almost got kicked out of the program. I was all nervous. But, God is good all the time. God is good. I made it through, and you can too. So, yeah, guys, that's the story. So, sorry, I have this here. Anyways, I'm just on my way to work right now, so I will catch y'all later. Holla.